Hey YouTube, it's me, it's the man who likes to rant, dropping a fresh VID for you today. And today, I want to continue our walk down memory lane in regards to the Royal Rumble, its past, its illustrious history. So, the '89 Royal Rumble took place at the Summit in Houston, Texas. And it begins rather mundanely with a six-man tag between the Russo brothers and Dino Bravo versus the Hart Foundation, Bret Hart and Jim the Anvil Neidhart, the original, which was always best, and Hacksaw Jim Duggan. I say this match was mundane because you know it was there to put the Hart Foundation, who had recently broken up from Jimmy Hart, thusly beginning their run as babyfaces, over to show they didn't need Jimmy Hart anymore. So I get why they were there, and I get why the Russos were there, because they were always the solid tag team that you put in front of tag teams you wanted to get over in order to establish a better reputation. I do not understand why Dino Bravo and Hacksaw Jim Duggan were a part of this match as well, because they wouldn't face each other at WrestleMania 5, which was the Mania that coincides with this event. They wouldn't face each other till 1 year later at WrestleMania 6 in an equally mundane match. But that's pretty much the crux of both men's singles careers in regards to the WWE, or F back then, depending on how your point of view sits at it. It was made interesting by the fact that this was a 2 out of 3 falls six-man tag team match, but again, it held true to a lot of the standards in that match. In this case, bad guy wins first fall, so now good guys have to come back and win 2 straight, which of course they do, because that's just the nature of the beast. You could see it coming. And some of you could be like, Ranter, well, if you have a problem with predictable booking back then, why do you have a problem with it now? Because it's something that's existed. The difference is, it was unexpected back then, because if you were watching, I'm willing to bet you were young enough to where you hadn't grasped the subtle nuances of the business. Nuances mean tendencies, just in case people don't know. But to go back and watch it now, I realize how predictable WWE always has been. But as of late, to compare the previous product with the current one, the problem I have with the predictability is people are being shoved down our throat, whereas the example with the Hart Foundation's predictability, it's fine because it's expected, because you knew the Hart Foundation was the better tag team. So when things are done for the purposes of advancing those that you should, I get it. When things are done for the purposes of shoving down a Roman Reigns, a John Cena, or whatever babyface you want that we obviously don't, that's where my problem with credibility lies these days. Moving on. Fortunately, the rest of this event would institute standards that would stay permanent in the Royal Rumble for many years without alteration. For example, this year we would have the full complement of 30 superstars in the Royal Rumble, as opposed to the 20 that were there in the first year. This year there was focus on having pre-taped interviews with the participants to show the their gearedness, that's not even a word, preparedness for the match and their readiness to compete. Also, the Royal Rumble graphic on the apron would stay. You're going to see that every year up until about 97, I believe. 96, 97. One of my more astute fans can post down in the comments and tell me what year it exactly changed. I want to say 97 was the first time I saw a difference. Anyway, next match on the card was a women's title match between The female champion, Rockin' Robin, and who was it? Not Leilani Kai, Judy Martin, the other half of the Glamour Girls. The most interesting thing of this match, because the match itself, as far as in-ring action, was bland, like vanilla is even like, damn, I got more spice than this shit. But what made it interesting was the banter between Jesse the Body Ventura and number one contender to the women's title, Sensational Sherry. These two I could listen to go back and forth all day long. And the way they ripped on Gorilla Monsoon, just classic comedy gold. And I think they had to do it that way because they knew this match was going to be a stinker. I mean, Rockin' Robin has about as much charisma as Alberto Del Rio does these days. And Judy Martin was in the exceeding twilight portion of her career. So I can't even remember how this match ended. I want to say like Martin went for a crossbody off the top and Robin rolled through and got a pin. So that was fantastic. And by fantastic, I mean the best part is the match was over. So you can tell how highly I thought of this match, and apparently Vince thought the same, because it wasn't too long after this that the women's title, both tag team and singles, were stricken from the company and would stay gone till the Attitude Era and the Reformation with the six-pack challenge. But that's another video for another day. Next we had the super pose down between Ravishing Rick Rude and the Ultimate Warrior. Or if you like to swip-swap these two things, you could say, in regards to bodybuilding, Ultimate Warrior and Ultimate Warrior Light, referring to Rick Rude, because you essentially had the same guy doing the same gimmick of, look how ripped I am, except that Warrior was like 3 times thicker than Rude, and, to his credit, Rude actually had a vast amount more wrestling talent than the Ultimate Warrior. Don't get me wrong, I love the Ultimate Warrior, but if anyone out there is thinking this dude was a fantastic wrestler, I want some of whatever mysterious substance you happen to be smoking or using, because you, sir, are on some good stuff. The pose down went pretty much exactly like you thought it would. Rude would be the one to introduce the posing, and he would do it. And, of course, the fans would hate him because he's the heel and he's the egotistical, narcissistic, obsessed with his body. Whereas Warrior, he flexes, and I'll admit, I did agree that some of his posing techniques were actually terrible, which was surprising given the fact that he did compete in Mr. Georgia before he became a wrestler. But it went down as you expect, in that the monster over babyface gets the win, and Ravishing Rick Rude attacks him with a metal workout bar and chokes him out in a camel clutch. And then the most hilarious thing happens is the officials, or suits as we call them these days, are helping Warrior back up, and he just clears the ring and kicks everybody's butt and goes looking for Rude. This would set up their match at WrestleMania 5 for the Intercontinental title, which of Warrior's 4 WrestleMania performances that he would have, 5, 6, 7, and 12. 5, 6, 7, 12. Yeah, 4 matches that he would actually wrestle in. 5 would actually turn out to be his worst as far as execution. All credit to Rick Rude for making the Warrior seem like a big-time player and working to what limited strengths the Warrior did have. This rivalry was good for Warrior in that I'm sure it taught him some things, but Rude took a pounding to do it. I mean, I have no doubt that he would go into his hotel room, probably punch a wall, and talk about how bad Warrior hurt him because he screwed up in the execution of a maneuver. Oh, goodness. So what do we have happen next? More pre-tapes with, the Heenan family would talk, and Mr. Fuji would talk about his powers of pain, and actually, I need to check something real quick. Hold on. Sorry, I had to actually check what was next because I totally forgot. It was the battle for kingship over the WWE. That's right, there actually was a time when being King of the Ring was not contested in a tournament. And this was ironic because this was one of those rare heel matches. Heel equals bad guy, just in case there are a few fans out there who didn't know. King Haku had taken the kingship away from Harley Race because he was injured, and I guess Harley assumed that when I came back that Haku was just going to give it back up, and big surprise, gasp, shock, horror, no, he decided to keep it so they would have this match. It was interesting because as respected of a legend as Harley Race was, and he was a fantastic worker back in the day. I mean, my God, his rivalry with Ric Flair in the NWA is the stuff of legend, perhaps dwarfed only by the rivalry that Flair would go on to have with Dusty Rhodes. But you could tell how good of a worker Harley used to be in this match. And the only thing that really keeps him from excelling and showing that is the fact that Father Time is undefeated in all fights against all of us. Age just caught up. Harley worked the best he could. Haku was young and very strong and looked fantastic carrying this match. Both guys were solid bump takers, so I'm not, when I say Harley's old, I'm not faulting his effort. It's not like, say, when Jericho took on Snuka, Piper, and Ricky Steamboat at WrestleMania 25, and you could just tell who was going to win because of the age discrepancy. But what it was is two guys showing how two veterans can work well together in a match, each compensating for the other's weaknesses. Moving on. Haku wins after catching Harley in the face with a crescent kick, super kick, sweet chin music, whatever you want to call it. Haku threw the martial arts kick as a finisher before Shawn adopted it. Shawn just made it famous. What else did we have going on here? Let me see. King Haku. Then we come to the Royal Rumble match. Now, this was interesting. I really think they blew an opportunity because, given the fact of who they had win, which was Big John Studd, just in case you didn't know, the rivalry he had would be against Andre the Giant. And the difference is, when they did this rivalry back in the early days of WrestleMania, Studd was heel and Andre was a face. I think you could have gotten a lot more mileage out of this rivalry if it had come down to Studd and Andre in the ring at the same time. But given Andre's number, there was no way. Interesting thing in this match is something that's only happened a few times. The first two people in the ring were Axe and Smash of Demolition, and you're like, whoa, it was great to see tag team partners actually go at it for the prestige of winning the Royal Rumble. It showed that, at least to these guys, they gave the perception that this match meant something to them, that it was important. It wouldn't truly become as important as it's going to be till a few years down the line, but it was good competitiveness, and you really felt bad. First, you felt bad for Axe and Smash because they had to go at it, and if they were your favorite tag team like Demolition was mine, you didn't want to see friends fight. And then when that 10-second countdown hits, you're like, oh, I feel bad for whoever number 3 is, because they're going to have to take on the combined-minded Demolition. And that lasted until you saw who number 3 was. Number 3, ladies and gentlemen, was Andre the Giant. And then you go right back to feeling bad for Axe and Smash because they now have to deal with this big guy who lasted a very long time. As you can imagine, being 520 pounds, it's very difficult to get that man over the top rope until he decides he's ready to go. Also, this is another trend I noticed in the match, and you won't pick this up till later, but Hulk Hogan would compete in this, and this is one of the rare times that Hogan did not win a Rumble. That happened perhaps far more times than I'd care to count on, but every time Hogan would lose, be it this time or again when it happened in '92, for all the talk about the lessons he's trying to teach for the Hulkamaniacs about being a good person and this, that, and the other, when you look at this match and again in '92, you really see what a sore loser Hulk Hogan is. It's like, okay, we know you're supposedly the greatest thing since sliced bread in regards to the wrestling business. And in case there are a few people out there going, no, he's not, think about this. You can talk to people who know nothing, absolutely nothing about professional wrestling. And when you say professional wrestling, they will respond with, oh yeah, that's that thing that Hulk Hogan used to do nowadays. So yeah, I mean, he was big, and I understand showing disappointment, but there's disappointment that you didn't win that we've seen people show, but then there's the outright bitterness that Hulk Hogan would show when he would lose. Not exactly a great role model for the kids. I almost forgot the underlying conspiracy, because earlier in the match when the participants were drawing their numbers, Ted DiBiase got a number that he apparently didn't like when he actually drew it, so he actually bought number 30 from Slick. Apparently one of the Twin Towers drew that number, and in turn paid the person who had numbers next to Hulk Hogan to have the Twin Towers work him over. It was really a nice setup, and this would have gone a long way in establishing the $1 Million Man. I believe he was the top heel at the time. And it would come down to I beg your pardon, to Stud and the $1 Million Man as the final two in the ring. And without much surprise, the bigger, stronger Stud hefted DiBiase over the top and is your winner of the Royal Rumble. Again, this is another one where, much like the first one, I didn't see the point of Stud winning because they didn't do anything. There was no setup between the two giants that I talked about earlier. Just some missed opportunities that I think would have added to the prestige of the Royal Rumble, but they would fix this with how they would tweak and adjust the Rumble on the whole. And now we're getting into the Rumbles that I'm truly familiar with, because these are the ones that I watched obsessively in my childhood. But that's my memories of this Royal Rumble, and I'd love to hear some of you guys' memories of Rumbles past in the comments below. Tell me about what years you're looking forward to. If you like this video, click that little thumbs up icon next to me. It really helps rank up the video and get me known to the YouTube population. I hope you guys who have subscribed to my channel and do watch my videos, I hope you can see the passion that I have for the sport of professional wrestling. I hope that shows through, and I thank you so much for watching. Have a nice day. Ranter off the soapbox. Catch you guys later. Bye-bye.